Welcome back, everybody, to another powerful episode of the Profits or Sanity Podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Caminata, CEO of Grosso University, the industry-leading training and consulting group. Today, I'm absolutely honored to have a very special guest and close friend of Grosso University, Boris Valkov, who is the CEO and founder of Lace.AI. His revolutionary platform is helping home improvement companies and home services companies book more jobs and grow their bottom line without increasing marketing spend or even hiring more people. In other words, Boris and his team can help you be more profitable, and that's why he's here today. If you want to know how AI is changing the game for call centers and customer service teams, this episode will absolutely not disappoint. As with all of these shows, make sure you get your notepad out, get your popcorn ready, because Boris is an absolute mountain of wisdom. And Boris, I first want to thank you for traveling all the way to Madison, Wisconsin to share your wisdom with the world. How you feeling today?
Great.
That's good.
It's really great to be here.
And on behalf of Grosso University, I also want to thank you for the partnership. So
Absolutely.
very, very excited about what you're doing for the industry and how you're helping companies essentially optimize their call center and their CSRs. So let's go back to the beginning before we dive into this exciting program that you have. What is your story? How did you enter the industry? Like, who is Boris? And ultimately, how did you become the founder and the CEO of Lace.AI?
So to start with my story, I was born in Bulgaria, Europe, and at the age of 7, my parents and I moved to Germany. We had no money. My dad found a job as a construction worker, and my mom worked in a restaurant. And we stayed there for 3 years, saved some money, and came back to Bulgaria, opened a grocery store. And at the age of 10, I was involved in the family business and helped everywhere I could. This was essentially one of my first experiences with the call center, where I was taking the phone calls and I was helping customers and suppliers. So that was my first experience, and I found that
You were 10 years old doing that?
Yes, 10 years old.
Gosh.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes, and it was a great experience because I found out that the moment I solve a problem for the customers, they felt happy and I felt joy of doing that. So this pretty much defined the meaning in life for me, which is like I just wanted to help people solve problems for them, make them happy.
It's time to listen up, closers. Before you go any further, you need to hear this. The Grosso University Sales Academy Masterclass is not just another training opportunity. This is the most in-demand, highest-rating sales training program in the history of the home improvement industry. Thousands of sales warriors just like you have gone through this life-changing program taught by our world-class head sales trainer, Daniel Coombsbury, and they are winning more and bigger because of it. If you're serious about dominating in sales, this is where you go to sharpen your edge. The best part is, it's 100% virtual and happens on the second Monday of every month, so there are absolutely zero excuses not to invest in your growth and development. Why don't you go ahead and hit the link in the description to learn more and lock in your spot and get ready to ignite the greatness within. On behalf of Grosso University, yes, you are a closer, and back to the video.
I also got obsessed with technology, and I studied computer science and started my job as a software engineer. And this is where I met my founder, Stan, 20 years ago. So I remember I was one night working late. I was sitting and thinking about what I want to do with my life. And this was the moment where I realized that I already knew that I want to help people, but I also obsessed with software. I wanted to build software. So to me, it was the goal in life was very simple. I just wanted to build software for as many people as possible and help them. So now the next question was, how do I achieve my goal? And I wanted to be in a country that can enable me to have no limits and achieve my goals. And that's how I decided to come to the United States.
And what year was that?
I came here to the United States in year 2016.
Not too long ago.
Yes.
And you're already taking over the the industry in a big way. This is what's so inspiring is obviously, you have this dream, and we used to call it the American dream, right?
Yeah.
And I'm actually part of a conference in this industry called the American Dream. The American Dream's so alive and well. You just have to have the right vision. You have to do it for the right reasons. Obviously, your just genuine willingness and desire to want to serve, that really is helpful. And people really feel that. And I've seen that, seeing you in action, talking with clients. Obviously, you're excited about what you built. You're excited about what it can do, but you're more excited about what it can do for them. But yeah, really, really excited to see like how far you've come in such a short period of time. And it's just the beginning for you.
It's just the beginning, just starting. So we were thinking about how to have the biggest possible impact. And I was thinking how to come to the United States. It wasn't easy to do that. And I started applying from Bulgaria to the US companies, software companies, and I received countless rejections. So it became pretty clear that my goal, to achieve the goal, the path will be much longer than I expected. So I came up with this 10-year plan. And the stage one of the 3 stages in my 10-year plan was to find a company in Bulgaria that's a US company, has an office in Bulgaria. And I can start with the hope that one day I'll be able to transfer to the United States. So the only company I was aware of was VMware. And I joined VMware, worked for a couple of years, worked harder than anyone else. And this essentially unlocked my stage 2 of the 10-year plan, which is I was offered the opportunity to relocate to the United States and be the first manager transferring from the 1,000 people office in Bulgaria to the United States. And that was pretty much, for me, the way to come to the United States. I was so thankful and so glad of VMware helping me to achieve my goal. I worked for VMware 3 years in the United States, and then I joined Facebook AI. And this was another great chapter in my career where essentially I worked with the smartest people on the planet. And I was leading a team called PyTorch Distributed. And PyTorch is one of the leading AI frameworks and is behind breakthroughs like the Tesla Autopilot and ChatGPT by OpenAI. Wow. And one of the major achievements for my team and I was that we enabled training for one of the biggest then machine learning models on the planet, which were 1 trillion plus parameter models. Or the equivalent of enabling that and sharing it with the people is like you have a engine of the car, which is like a 4-cylinder engine. Now for the first time, we're creating like a 12-cylinder engine, enabling manufacturers around the world to be able to produce those cars. So that was kind of the analogy of enabling this size of models. And that was a major milestone. And that essentially enabled me to move to stage 3 of my original 10-year plan, which was I saw the revolution coming in as part of Facebook. I saw how much impact AI will have on businesses and software. And I left Facebook and I wanted to build a dream team and bring the best AI technologies from what only the top 5 companies have access to the home improvement space. And this is how we started Lace. My founder, Stan, was also very excited and ready to have massive impact. So he left his job, I left my job, and that's how we started the company.
So what initially attracted you to the home improvement, home services industry specifically? Because before this whole craze of AI, I mean, this industry was always like 10, 15 years behind the rest of the world when it comes to technology. But now what I'm seeing, it's kind of the opposite, where this industry is just getting bombarded with AI right now. So I guess what initially sparked that interest in home services and home improvement specifically for you?
Yes. So one of our goals was to have maximum impact on people and companies. And we talked to 100 plus companies in different verticals and different areas, trying to understand what are the pains and how can we solve. And what we found out with the home improvements is that the call center has a very different characteristics. Yeah. The difference between the call center here and the call center in the banks, the mobile carriers, or the airline companies is that those are mostly support-related call centers where most of the time you call your bank to kind of check your balance or unlock your credit card. You call your airline company to change your flights, which is a support function. Here, 90% of the revenue of the company comes from the call center, one way or the other, like inbound, outbound calls. So it's a very different dynamics and the stakes are very high. And at the same time, it was a complete black box. The only way today to understand what action you need to take in your call center is pretty much to listen to calls. But if you're getting thousands of calls, it's impossible. So for us, it was clear that this is a massive opportunity. And that's how we decided we're going to go commit our full-time attention to this industry and try to essentially make massive impact. And that's how we decided to come here, improvement space.
So I'm really attracted to what you're doing for many reasons. So back in 2019, when I founded Grosso University, I actually partnered up with another call center company. I'm not going to name who it is, but they essentially had 300 human beings that would listen to calls and manually grade and score every single call. And then they would put it onto a dashboard so owners and leaders can see what's going on. But it took 300 people, and even at that, they were so bogged down because, to listen to all these calls all day long, it's impossible. You can't listen to every single one of them. So what you're doing, the scalability of it, the efficiency of it, and obviously the advanced technology that you're bringing to this industry is definitely needed because it wasn't really sustainable the way a lot of companies are going about it. And obviously we're going to dive more. So that's an amazing story, by the way. I appreciate you sharing that because part of this podcast is we want to educate our listeners, but we also want to inspire them, especially in this industry. And I'm sure you'd agree, this is an industry of abundance. There's plenty of business out there for everybody. And all the doom and gloom out there, like throw that in the garbage. This industry's got to continue to grow. The homeowners' homes don't know that there's a recession or inflation or problems going on in the world. They still need help. Their home is sick. We need to help it get healthy again, right? And your technology, I agree with you that the call center is really the foundation of any successful business. And I'm a sales trainer, right, and sales leadership coach, but that frontline sales team is really in the call center. It really is. And we need to start thinking about CSRs not just as call center representatives. These are the frontline sales force that really begin the process. If you're out of leads, you're out of business. So, but I really like the concept of Lace.AI. So, you're really talking a lot about generate more leads, get more bookings, increase your set rate conversion, all this stuff without spending any additional money on marketing or increasing personnel. So can you just give our listeners a deeper dive into what exactly is Lace.AI now? And again, in terms of the call center, what are the primary functions it can do to help optimize your CSRs?
Yeah. So Lace is the leading revenue intelligence software for the call center, specifically designed for the home improvements and home services space. And we are analyzing 100% of your phone calls using advanced AI and detecting automatically the reasons why your team is not booking those calls and helping your team, your CSRs, talking to your customers, helping them to empower them and coach them with AI to book more calls, which ultimately affects your revenue on the company. And what happens here is that for the first time with Lace, you can listen to 12,000 calls in less than a minute and take action. So this is essentially being able to analyze extreme scale of calls with very, very little effort. And that's magic. And we are working on the biggest customers and the best customers in this industry, starting with revenue ranging from $5 million all the way to $2 billion revenue, our customers. So they're generating millions of dollars additional revenue by just having the software with no additional leads. Right. With the existing leads, no additional marketing budget spent, and no additional hiring in the call center, you can generate millions of dollars just by using technology.
So you get a return on investment.
It's pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, that's exciting. So I guess, what are some of the common issues you're seeing in call centers that are being manually run right now? So what are some of the big bullet points you would say, these are the big problems that Lace is trying to solve? Because we see this with every call center that we get in front of that's run manually, right? What are the limitations?
So now we have so many customers in the industry, so we have visibility pretty much on what are the biggest problems, how companies are overcoming those problems, who are the best to overcome those problems, and how technology can help. So based on what we know in this industry, there are three common problems in the call center. Number one is manually listening to phone calls. Yeah. It's very time-consuming, very inefficient, and very expensive. Mm-hmm. Number two is inaccurate data. So if you don't trust your call center data, how are you supposed to take action on 90% of your revenue? And then number three most common problem is increasing booking rates. So everyone knows that increasing booking rates, every percentage is going to help you generate hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars revenue. So booking rate is critical. But those are the three issues and then how to overcome them. So if we drill down in the first one, which is manually listening to phone calls. So a while back, one of the companies came to us and said, hey guys, we're getting 20,000 calls per month. 90% of our revenue depends on those phone calls. And our head of call center listens to 5 to 10 calls per day, which is less than 1% of the total call volume. And they said, we don't feel comfortable making decisions about 90% of our revenue with less than 1% of the data. So they were trying to and thinking of hiring a QA people that will listen manually and fill a manual scorecards where they'll listen to the phone call and trying to find whether the CSR or the agent is mentioning the company name, mentioning the customer name, what objections are coming, how are they overcoming objections, all of this manually filled. But now the question is with QA people, how many calls and what percentage you can cover? Because if you want to cover 100% of your phone calls, you pretty much need to double your team because one person will be talking on the phone, the other one will be listening. Yeah. And that's pretty much practically impossible. So there was really no solution to the problem to listen calls in a sustainable way that can give you enough information. And that problem was pretty kind of problematic, and that was number one.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I talk to companies where even the owners of the business are listening to calls and trying to correct their call center manager and their staff. How expensive is that if an owner themselves are having to take time out of their day to listen to calls to try to see what's going on? And if deals are falling through the cracks or like deal savers. We used to do this thing called the deal saver alert, where it was basically if a call center representative did not set up an appointment with an actual customer or prospect based on how the recording was going, they'd get a dealer saver alert. But then owners are having to listen to these calls and spend all this time. It's just crazy. So, and then 1%, like you said, 90% of your revenue is on the line with no visibility at all. So what's actually happening? And this is kind of like what Rilla and some of these other companies are doing in sales. They're finally giving owners and leaders visibility as to what's actually happening, so we can make data-driven decisions and not just, guess our best educated guess.
This just shows how important it is that owners are listening to calls, spending time and trying to help the team. This just shows the importance and shows the shortcomings of the technology that before now I have new tools. So it's pretty big problem. The number two is inaccurate data, which is also very problematic. So what it means is that in most of the CRMs and dialers today, the way you calculate booking rates is very, very inaccurate. And I can share a story here. So in one of the conferences a few months ago, one of the owners came to us and said, "Hey guys, our marketing budget is blocked on the call center." And I was like, "What does that mean? Can you share? Can you elaborate more?" And he mentioned, so we're investing significant amount of our marketing budget to generate those leads. And then the call center needs to book those appointments. Today, the way the CRMs and the dialers are calculating the true booking rate is by the CSRs after the call manually dispositioning the call, saying this was a lead, not a lead, this was booked, not booked. Yeah. What we're seeing is there is a human error here involved, where usually this discrepancy could be up to 30%. This means that you might be thinking that you're booking of like 50, 60, 70, 90%, but all of a sudden, based on the true qualified leads and the booking rate, that might be a very different number. So they said, we don't feel comfortable with this method of calculating true booking rates. And we don't feel comfortable in the performance of the call center, and we don't know what action to take. And that blocks our marketing budget, because the call center for us is a leaky bucket. Yeah. And before we fix that, we cannot invest more marketing because we don't feel comfortable. So that's number two, very, very bad problem to have. And the third one is booking rates. So we all are trying to chase new leads and generate more leads, which is great. Having more leads is absolutely great. But the problem is that if that's the only thing that you're focusing on, then what happens is that you're getting into a concept of a kind of a dead end because of this concept I wanted to introduce here called double inflation. So what is double inflation? Double inflation means that your cost per lead goes up every year. And now this means that next year you're paying higher marketing budget for the same amount of leads, which is inflation. Then at the same time, quality per lead goes down because the markets are getting more competitive, so people have more choices, so you need to fight harder. And what happens is that next year quality goes down, so this is inflation too, so this is double inflation. So in order to come out of this situation of double inflation and get out of this dead circle, you need to take some actions. So first, what is the problem with double inflation? So your revenue goes up, but your profit goes down. So in order to get out of this situation, what you need to do is to focus on the next stages of the funnel of your sales funnel. So you have the marketing, the call center, the sales, and then the service or the product that you're delivering. So after the marketing, the next one is call center, and it's low-hanging fruit, and that's the way to overcome the double inflation problem. And essentially, what we are saying here is that you might be thinking that increasing booking rate by 1% or a few percent is not going to make a big difference for your revenue, but that's not correct. So if you talk numbers, if you think about if you're making $10 million revenue today, and if you increase your booking rates by 1%, it's going to be $100,000 additional revenue. If you increase your booking rate by 5%, it's going to be $500,000 additional revenue. And if you have customers increase their revenue by 24%, which on $10 million revenue is $2.4 million additional revenue with no additional marketing and no additional spend.
That's the key right there. And this is why, we're really passionate about what you're doing, because, our services complement each other very well. Because, obviously we want to get into as many homes as possible. We want to maximize the performance of our call center and make sure we're not letting anything slip through the cracks, and then make sure that our in-home closers are expertly trained to capitalize on all that additional businesses coming through, right? So really, really powerful. And you actually have a stat that you throw around that you see an increase in booking rates by up to 23% in the first 30 days. I guess, can you kind of map out for us how that's achieved with Lace.AI?
So first, if you break down the call center today and all the opportunities that you have and all the booking rate percentage that you think about today, so one thing stands out. If you're thinking you have a 95% booking rate or something like that, I think that most likely you have half of that true booking rate. And now let's break it down and then we can share how companies are overcoming it. First is the discrepancy that I discussed. So there is a discrepancy between what the true qualified booking rates are based on manual dispositions and what AI-based 100% audited booking rates look like. So that could be 10%. So now all of a sudden from a 95, you're all of a sudden booking 85%. Then number two, you have those cancellations. So usually 15% cancellations, which is not reflecting the booking rate because you book at 95, but then they cancel 15% of the time. So you need to figure out why they cancel, what are the common issues. And in order to do that, you need 100% of the data. Otherwise, you don't know why, or it's manual. So now you have all of a sudden 15% more. So now you're back to like 75. And then from here, usually half of the calls that you're getting in the call center are qualified and half of them are not qualified. So 50% of your capacity in the call center is dealing with non-revenue generating calls. So this means that your lead streams can be adjusted, can be fine-tuned. You can understand better about the qualities of different lead streams and also just your own marketing campaign to bring more of the qualified and less from the non-qualified. This can give you another 20% boost. And now all of a sudden you're kind of realizing that you're actually booking only half of the total call volume. So now, and there are many other things that you mentioned, these high value calls. So high value call is a call that's usually 10 times bigger than a normal sales job. So if you have a way to detect the high value calls and also almost real time be able to overcome the objections and call back the customer and try to rebook the call and make some of the discounts and some of the adjustments with the best salespeople that you have, then they're 20% of your traffic, but they're 50 or more % of your revenue. So this is another opportunity. So now, with all this context, some of the companies that use Lace, what they do is, number one is they first understand the reality in the call center very, very deeply. And second, Lace, for the first time ever, aligns the whole company around the same goal. So this means all the way from the leadership to the call center managers to the CSRs or the agents, for the first time, you have 100% visibility on the metrics, on the objections, on the issue that you have in the call center. And now everyone is going after the same goal when you're completely aligned. And when that happens, what usually happens is that now, instead of coaching on random problems, we'll be coaching on number one problem in the call center. And maybe we don't have to coach the whole team. Maybe we need to coach only 3 or 4 out of the total team for this number one problem, because now for the first time we have direct correlation between problem and revenue. So that is where we're seeing some of the CSRs increasing their booking rate by 50% in 4 weeks. And that drives to 23 to 84% of those companies and many other things. But that's pretty much just a glimpse of what it looks like in the call center.
That's unbelievable. And that obviously ties all into your revenue intelligence program, right? So you define Lace as a revenue intelligence engine, right? So you really mapped out beautifully how that's possible. And, this podcast is called Profits for Sanity, right? And I can't think of any other topic that we could be talking about that has such a profound impact on a business than what you're describing right here. Just the efficiencies on, between what you're talking about, having your booking rates and your cancellations and all the other inefficiencies. They're not factoring in all these percentages. So you think you're at 95%, you're actually like 75, and then you get half of those. And then one of the things you talk about is actionable coaching with Lace. So I guess what are some of the ways that you with Lace.AI and the data you provide where coaching can be a lot more meaningful and actionable, and what type of support is also provided with you and your team?
Yes, absolutely. So coaching is key. And before that, you need to detect what you need to coach on. And also, if you're spending 5 minutes of your time today, where is the best time to spend the 5 minutes of coaching today? It's not just random coaching. It's not like, we think this is the problem. We need to know exactly what's the problem, what we need to coaching. That's pretty much what they're trying to solve. So if we step back and think about the bigger picture of AI here, what is AI really good at today? And how are we achieving those results, right? So AI is good at 2 things. One is reasoning. This means understanding the world. And number 2 is processing large amounts of data. So understanding the world and processing large amounts of data. So if you think about your business, where in your business you have the biggest concentration of data. And so that's the call center. You're getting thousands of calls every month, which is equal to hundreds of thousands of minutes that need to be processed in order for you to make a decision. And so what happens is very often is you think about the leads, which is the marketing part of the funnel, and you think about the closing, which is the sales part of the funnel. In the middle of the call center is always underestimated. And that's the biggest opportunity for your company today. So the call center affects the two most critical metrics, and then we'll kind of explain how the coaching can tie those two most critical metrics. But number one metric is roll to book, right? So roll to book is, or roll to set also, is essentially one of the most critical metrics in the business. And then the other one is NSLI, net sales, lead, upper lead. So pause a second. NSLI, net sales
per lead issued.
Yeah. And the other one is NSLI, net sales per lead issued. So if you think about the first metric, roll to set, what does this metric give you as information for your business? This gives you how efficient you are with the leads that you're getting in terms of setting those appointments on the call center. This is a call center efficiency metric. Also gives you the marketing efficiency, but mostly call center efficiency. So that's number one metric. And this is, according to many of our customers, the metric that affects your revenue the most. And that's in the call center. So that's metric number one. And metric number two is NSLI, which is essentially more broader metric, like an end-to-end metric. But what this metric gives you is that how efficient you are at closing the deal. Yeah. But in order for you to be efficient closing the deal, the call center is the beginning of the sales process. Why? So one of the data points we have is that 26% of the time, you're not closing the deals in the customer's home because you have only one legged appointment. Not all stakeholders are in this meeting. Right. And that is a call center problem to be fixed. So this means that how can you reliably make sure that 100% of the calls you're making sure when you're setting those appointments and you confirm those appointments that you're actually checking and making sure that all the stakeholders are there. But this is just one example of 26% loss of potential, loss that can kind of overcome from the call center, which is the beginning of the sales cycle. And your sales staffs are not just callers, they're beginning of the sales team. So they're sales actually team. So, but there are many other things. For example, how do you set up the appointment? What context you're going to provide the customers? What agenda will be discussed, etc. So this affects significantly your NSLI from a call center perspective and new technology. So now back to your question about the coaching aspect, right? So now if you know that those are the most critical metrics in your business and you can affect them from the call center, now coaching becomes obsessed around those metrics. And now the biggest question is, how can we increase our roll to set? And how can we increase our NSLI from a call center perspective? And this is where you need 100% of the data, and you need to understand the correlation between the problems in the call center and those metrics, which ultimately is to the revenue. So yeah, that's kind of how we help the coaches to align completely with the revenue and with the leadership of the company and with the agents.
What do you see as being the best overall strategy to introduce this to my call center representatives without them getting upset or disgruntled, like this is just a micromanagement tool, big brother looking over my shoulder? Because that's the same challenge you run into, with like products like Rula. There's an art form in terms of how to introduce this, because we want this to be an empowerment tool. This is something that's going to empower you, and it's actually going to make your lives a lot better because you're going to spend more of your time with meaningful customers. You're going to obviously maximize your position and your revenue personally. It's like you're giving everybody in that call center a pay raise the second this is introduced, right? But do you have some tips and pointers? Like if I'm introducing AI to my team, this could be any AI for that matter.
Yeah.
What are some ways that you've seen we can introduce this where we keep the morale high and they look at the positive side and not like the micromanagement side?
Yeah. So one of the key concepts when we designed our software was to pay attention to the three personas that are here. So persona number one is the executive team and the owner of the company. Persona number two is the manager and the call center. And persona number three is the agent and the CSR. So every persona has a different requirements. And we spent countless hours in the call center, sleeping in those call centers and breaking down every second of the conversation from the beginning to the end to understand every single persona, what they care about, what are the key metrics they care about, what is the best UI to present those metrics, and how to help them succeed. So part of your question is like, how did we make sure that the agents are happy and they're getting the best information? It's not a micromanagement actually helping their career grow. Exactly. Because in many cases, this is tied to their compensation. So the better you are, it's good for everyone and for your personal well-being in terms of revenue and compensation. So what we've done is that it's taking off a lot of the burden of the managers because we're providing a lot of the coaching in the self-service manner, which means that now we're completely changing the dynamics in the one-on-one meetings between the manager and the agent. What happens is that now everyone is aligned. It's not like once a month. You meet in the one-on-one, you're trying to figure out whether you hit your goals or not. And like once a month, you understand, oh, I hit it or I didn't hit it, and then that's it. So now every day, you know if you're getting close or not, and what are the areas you can improve. So that's part of the self-service, that taking the burden from the manager from this micromanagement aspect and focusing more on the taking action part of the aspect, which is much more, the manager is much more qualified in this than they're just trying to dig into data and trying to figure out what's the problem. So that's one. So this helps a lot the agents. And the second thing is that there is, for the first time now, you can see your team and how are they performing. So this means you can get the best examples from your team and teach each other. You can go and ask them, hey, how do you overcome this objection? Or can listen, go and see how they're overcoming and try to understand from your peers. So now you don't only rely on your manager, you rely on yourself and also you rely on your peers. So we change the dynamics completely in the one-on-one, and we align the whole company against the same goal. So
that's so important. So I have a lot of experience training salespeople, and I used to love putting together really good sales meeting agendas, right? We had a specific topic that I felt we needed to focus on, and I put together a really great training session. But one thing I saw is every time it was me trying to teach and preach what to do, some of the salespeople would be taking notes, but the rest of them are like, I've heard this a million times from Dominic. What I realized is when I could get one of their coworkers, one of their peers to come up and share how they're doing it, how they're actually succeeding, because I would know like that salesperson does a kick-ass demo, or that salesperson is really good at overcoming this objection, or this salesperson never has that objection because they overcome it proactively. I would have them come up and share how they're doing it successfully, and all the salespeople would be frantically taking notes. They love learning from each other, more so than they love learning even from leadership. As much as it pains me to say that, right? So if you can have a technology where we can celebrate the wins, when we can all grow as a mastermind group, and you can share those best practices, how the call center reps are overcoming those challenges. And I'm assuming that someone could almost even put together like a playlist. If there's an objection I can't overcome, I can listen to a couple of examples of how the top CSRs are effectively overcoming that, and then just replicate and duplicate, right?
Yes. So for the first time, we are disconnecting the theory from the practice and kind of making very clear which one works and which one doesn't work. So it's now not only theoretically that's what you need to do, but it's in practice. Who does it? How and why I'm not doing it, and how can I learn quickly? So it's a very, very powerful, and to your concept, like we love to learn from each other, and even more powerful is love to learn from the situation where we saw it was handled pretty well. So now you have access to all this information. And if you think about the top 3 objections in this industry, so some of the very, very common objections are customer needs time to decide. It's a pricing objection, like a budget, not sure about the budget. And then the other one is scheduling conflicts. So if you break them down, customer needs time to decide is most of the time you haven't built enough value, you haven't convinced the customer that you're the best, and they need to call more. So this means for them more hassle, and for you didn't provide the right information. So this is totally overcomable objection in many cases. Not 100% of the time, but in many cases it's possible. So this means you need to learn how to build more value during the discussion, help the customer understand better why you're the best, and they don't have to call another 5-10 companies.
Yeah, a lot of salespeople too, along with building value, I find that they're lacking at creating urgency.
Yes.
Because prospects never go from problem to solution, especially when it requires their time and money. So we got to do a really good job doing a masterful inspection, a masterful health check, because they say, diagnosis without prognosis is malpractice. So we need to make sure that we're doing a really good discovery, doing a really good measure and inspection, create a sense of urgency, because if there's awareness in pain and trauma, and the pain and trauma of doing nothing is more severe than shelling out the hard-earned money for a solution, now they have the urgency to want to move quicker. And then along with that, building the value, selling the dream, getting them to want, need, and desire what it is that I'm offering. Now I'm in a position where I can close that thing effectively in a very short period of time. So again, most customers will start procrastination clubs. They just never get around to it, right? So they're fine putting things off, but we got to create urgency and get them excited about it. And now we can convert on that. So on 100%. Now we have visibility to that stuff. It's real easy.
Absolutely. So some of the other ones are also interesting because it's not always the call center. Sometimes it's something outside of the call center. For example, if you think about pricing objection, yes, you can definitely discuss like why that's the price, and you can have many options to overcome this objection. But the other one is scheduling conflicts. So scheduling conflicts is a very interesting one, which essentially means that you're not available when the customer is available. And that means that you might need to change your scheduling calendar, which is outside of the call center. It's more your sales team, but also means that you might need to become more sophisticated in scheduling the right appointments, which means you have a high value appointment, you might need to do some rescheduling because that's going to increase your average ticket size and going to increase your revenue. And that's going to be more efficient from a company perspective, and also sell the customer totally fine to do it. So scheduling conflicts have a lot of things that can be done from the call center, and sounds like has nothing to do with call center, but it's very related. So those are where, in these type of objections, this means majority of your revenue is blocked on those objections, and there are a lot of things that you can do about it. So
they're very solvable. That's the good news.
Yes,
yeah, exactly. So from my experience, the team I came from, the call center very much governed the sales team and precisely would steer in the direction in which it needed to go. And the call center was very much the front line, and we wanted to make sure our salespeople had zero interaction, communication, or correspondence with any prospect until it's knuckles on the door. That's the first time they're allowed to say anything. So it's very much the call center, dictating where they're going, when they're going there, why they're going there, and all the communication needs to be held eloquently. Now, I just want to backtrack a little bit. You were talking about NSLI and stuff like that. Are you familiar with this term called sales performance score?
Yep.
So this is something that I'm seeing a lot more companies adapt to, where they're tracking the demo rate. So they have the demo rate, the gross close, and the net close together, those three numbers, and it basically gives them a sales performance score. So I've seen some companies that are like a 125, some are at like a 130, but I really like that because now you have the demo rate, which we're tracking like crazy. And of course, all that affects NSLI, but we want something that really takes demo rate into account, because we don't want sales reps cherry picking the leads, hunting for whales, waiting around for the laydowns, right? So we want them, doing master presentations with as many people as humanly possible. Obviously, we want to make sure their gross close is high, but then also they have a strong net close. So companies are really enjoying that too. So when you have NSLI and sales performance score together, it really gives you the full picture of how the sales reps are performing. And again, all that stuff in the beginning stems from the call center's ability to generate that quality appointment, confirm it, make sure all decision makers are present, so give them the opportunity to do their job. So
exactly. So this is where you also need reliable data in order to get these metrics work. So this means you need to understand the call center. As we mentioned, there's a massive discrepancies today, like 30% discrepancy in those things. Even you're measuring, the numbers are not correct. So one is to define the right metrics, which is, as you mentioned, it's very important to track end-to-end the performance. And the second is to rely on the data. So this is where you need also to make sure that you have audited calls and everything is correct. Otherwise, you kind of optimize it for the wrong thing. So those things are very, very related, and it's a good point.
Yeah, so we talked about some of the shocking numbers that people are experiencing with Lace.AI. Of course, we talked about the 23% increase in booking rates in the first 30 days. Another one that was really huge is you see booking rates as high as 98%. So can you kind of elaborate how companies are able to achieve a 98% booking rate, and kind of what's involved, and of course how Lace.AI is involved in that process?
Yes. So it sounds impossible, and you have to look at this multiple times to understand that, okay, how is this possible? But there are companies that are booking at 98%, which means extreme efficiency.
And you're talking like a real 98%, not a dream, not a fabricated number. This is real data.
Yes.
Yeah. So
these are true booking rates. And so we were very interested in how this is even possible to happen. But one thing we can do with technology is to understand 100% of the calls. So this gives you essentially, for the first time, ability to target the 98%, 96, 99, etc. So essentially, it means for every revenue generating call that you didn't book, what happened? Why? Can you call back? Can you try to rebook it? Can you do everything possible to make it happen? This is where, for the first time, who are the best to do it. For the first time, the team knows who are the best. The team learns from each other. So this means you're bridging the gap. So one of the other things we are seeing is that usually within your team, the performance varies up to 24% booking rate. So this means that from the top performers to the rest of the team, there is a 24% delta. So this means, again, back on the $10 million debt, some part of your team books with $2.4 million higher rate than the rest of the team. So this is back to the question of how do we get to 98%? So how do you bridge the gap and make sure that the rest of the team gets to these top performing numbers? So essentially the answer here is that these companies are very, very methodological in terms of breaking down every single call and understanding why you missed it. And there is no getting back, escaping from this discussion of like, what happened? How can we book better? And for the first time now, you have all this visibility. And that's kind of how you need to be extremely, extremely diligent to get every single call to get to this crazy number.
Absolutely incredible. And I just love that you keep going back to, we can basically replicate and duplicate what the top performers are doing and share that, because I talk a lot about sales leadership, and this is for any leadership, but I'm always trying to build an open book culture of leaders. And I say open book because everybody should be sharing best practices with everybody else, especially in outside sales. A lot of these sales professionals are alone on an island all by themselves doing their own thing. And whatever the top performers are using and saying and doing, they're not sharing with anybody else. It's kind of like their own little business, a little selfishness going on right there. They want to continue to be the best, so they don't necessarily want to share what's working. But a lot of salespeople used to ask me, what can I do to be the best salesperson on the team? And I always say, you need to be a mentor, a leader, and a coach to everybody else on the team. Be that person that others come to for advice, for guidance, for leadership, and always lead by example. Because for me, my performance greatly increases when I'm teaching and sharing with others. It enriches my understanding of subject matter. So that's how you're building this powerhouse organization where, the rising tide raises all boats, right? So that's what you're doing with your call center. So, and I think that's absolutely phenomenal. Obviously, it's no secret that people are terrified of AI. They think it's going to take over the world. It's the boogeyman, right? There's a lot of fear. So I guess what can you say to owners that may be watching this that are like, I'm just really not sure I'm comfortable introducing this AI into my technology. They have this fear of letting the AI loose and it just like goes crazy and starts causing a lot of damage. And, it's not necessarily to replace people, it's to empower people, right? So can you kind of speak to that to make people give them peace of mind as to, this is something that is only there to help them and empower them, not to ruin their lives?
Yes. So we're getting this concern very often, and this is a very reasonable concern, Rev, right?
Too many people watch Terminator. So it's coming. Skynet.
Yes. So what we're trying to explain is that AI has been around for a very, very long time.
Since the 50s, right? I mean, really.
And then the AI that we've interacted with has been around for like at least 10 years. Like, for example, Facebook introduced AI in, I think, 2016, which is in the AI in the newsfeed in order to calculate what content do you want to watch the most. Is definitely using a lot of AI to get to this really engaging.
Tracking your eyes and everything. Yeah.
It's tracking like everything that you've liked before and kind of interacting the system so that it can help you understand, help you provide the best content. The ads in Facebook are also based heavily on AI. So we interacted with this for a very long time. Google search introduced AI in their search algorithms in 2015, I believe. So this means we've interacted with Google search with AI for like 10 years now. Your Nest thermostat has AI. Your Amazon, when you're looking for new products, use AI to recommend you the best product. So AI has been around for more than 10 years that we were able to experience it. And it started like much earlier. Now is the first moment where not only the top 5 companies have access to the same AI that we had access to 10 years, but now for the first time, every company has access to this AI. So I think that the inspiring fact here is that we can take advantage and improve our business, what the top 5 companies have been doing for a very, very long time to become so sophisticated. And now, for the first time, businesses have access to something that was not available before. So the good part here is that this is going to make us much better in our businesses. It's going to help. And if the business grows and if the revenue grows, this means the vote of the customer is that the customer is voting more for this business. Means you're doing good things for people. And that's really great. And I think that this is the moment where I think that we need to be really, really inspired by AI. The other thing is that if you think about what will happen in the future, I think that today, the most advanced machine learning algorithms are trained with the entire humanity knowledge already. So just to break it down, in order for an AI algorithm to become more sophisticated and better, you need to give examples, real life examples, so that's the training process. So the more data you provide, the better the AI algorithm becomes. In addition to improving the algorithm, you're also giving more data, and that in combination makes it better. So the more data, the better algorithm. And today, some of the best algorithms have consumed the entire knowledge of the humanity since existence. So every digital book, every book that's available in digital format, every video, audio file, and everything that's available for training, and every comment and interaction of people has already been trained with the AI. So this is where
it's a pretty rich understanding as to who we are and how, its place in the world.
Yes. So AI now has this reasoning concept where it has a pretty deep understanding of what we're trying to achieve. And at the same time, now in order to continue to make progress, we need to start creating synthetic data, because there is no data available anymore. So we need to, in order to improve AI. And then on top of that, the hardware is improving every year. Like before, it used to be the CPU, the Moore's law, like the CPU and the processors and the laptops and the computer, they keep improving, and that helped us create more sophisticated software. Now the GPUs that are running the AI are improving at a tremendous speed. So the hardware is improving, the algorithms are improving, the data is growing. So the AI is getting better and more sophisticated. And we have the ability to use this new tool that has been around for a very long time, just that now we have access to improve our businesses. So it's very, very inspiring. At the same time, of course, I understand all the concerns.
Is AI going to get to the point very soon where it can, I think it already is, right, where it can basically code itself or program itself? Or
It's time to listen up, closers. Before you go any further, you need to hear this. The Grosso University Sales Academy Masterclass is not just another training opportunity. This is the most in-demand, highest-rating sales training program in the history of the home improvement industry. Thousands of sales warriors just like you have gone through this life-changing program taught by our world-class head sales trainer, Daniel Coombsbury, and they are winning more and bigger because of it. If you're serious about dominating in sales, this is where you go to sharpen your edge. The best part is, it's 100% virtual and happens on the second Monday of every month, so there are absolutely zero excuses not to invest in your growth and development. Why don't you go ahead and hit the link in the description to learn more and lock in your spot and get ready to ignite the greatness within. On behalf of Grosso University, yes, you are a closer, and back to the video.
So AI is pretty capable right now to code, and we were thinking that AI might replace some of the blue-collar jobs first, but actually AI started replacing the white-collar jobs first, which is essentially doing everything that we thought is going to be very hard. AI is becoming better, but in a way that it's just helping right now and trying to enhance the people's abilities. Of course, AI agents can do themselves a lot of things already, but again, they need this human navigation, they need the human analysis, they need people that cannot be completely isolated. So yes, AI is getting better at coding and many other things. And from that perspective, I think that we just need to embrace it, because there is no other way, right? You need to embrace technology, you need to embrace
competition will.
Yes, of course. So
you have a big disadvantage there, because that's what I've been seeing is the owners in the industry, some pretty high-level individuals that are leveraging AI in all the different pillars of their business. They're getting a lot of their freedom back in their life. So they're able to be that visionary to work on their business, not in their business, because AI can do a lot of the heavy lifting now. So if you look at it from that standpoint, that, a lot of people, when they start a business as an entrepreneur, they have this dream of having freedom and being able to do what they want, when they want, how they want, on their terms. But you get so tied up in, the nuts and bolts of running your business and wearing all these hats that you don't have any freedom. So it's like the main reason why you became an entrepreneur, you're not able to realize that, but AI is giving that to a lot of these owners and leaders now, because it is able to take a lot of that stuff off their plate and do it way more proficiently. Maybe Lace.AI will get to the point where they analyze 110% of your data. It's only 100%.
So I think that in terms of AI, there is the hybrid vision is what is going to be the future, which means people and AI will be working together, and person will be in the management capacity, navigating the AI and how to help your business. So there's always going to be place for a person to navigate and help steer the AI in the right direction, help your business. To your point, your business is getting more sophisticated, but you're still in charge of the whole thing, and many people are in charge. Just eliminating some of the work that you don't necessarily want to do today. And you're much more powerful and creative and making decisions rather than listening to phone calls, for example. So, and back to your point, like, okay, so what's the future for the call center in AI, right? So with this context that AI is now being trained on the entire data humanity ever created, from a call center perspective, you can start thinking about the future. There will be a world where we'll be able to process every single call interaction from the beginning of your company. And we imagine what correlation, what patterns, and what knowledge we can extract for your business today and in the future. So all of this is coming. I think that's going to be very exciting because the businesses are starting to increase at a really tremendous speed. And back to the point, like, should we use AI or not? AI is here. The only thing is that it was only available to the top 5, and now you have the choice to use it as the top 5 companies.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. Obviously, you talked about how powerful Lace is and how much data it can basically analyze and process within seconds. If a contractor begins the process of the onboarding, like, what does that onboarding process look like exactly? How much time does it take? Is there certain limitations on what CRMs they're using and which ones are not compatible? I guess, can you just walk us through that briefly? What does that whole onboarding experience really look like?
So part of the designing a software is making it as simple as possible. And that's actually very hard. It's easy to make complicated software and very hard to make a simple software.
Because that's another thing I hear from owners. I don't want to oversee another technology that's going to take more time. And obviously the goal of AI is to do the opposite, to give you more time, to do a lot of that stuff for you.
Yeah, so as part of the software design, some of the questions are, how can you add a net positive with this software and not taking so much time that at some point you're not sure that you should use the software. So with me working, for example, for VMware, we kind of delivered software for almost all of the Fortune 500 companies. So we've delivered software for hospitals, banks, airline companies. You understand what it means software to be critical for some of those companies and what it means to be simple, not hard, because then it's very hard to adopt this software. So with this knowledge now, when we started designing Lace, number one concept for us was, how can we make it as simple as possible and as actionable as possible? Because simple only doesn't help. It has to be actionable. But how do you make the combination between actionable and simple? So from terms of onboarding, we designed the software to be a plug and play. We support most of the CRMs and most of the dialers, like 20 plus of the top dialers that you can imagine, and CRMs. So pretty much plug and play technology. We just need to understand your process in the call center and just very simple, like just give us whatever onboarding materials you have, and that's it. And then we need 30 minutes of your team's time. And then in a few days, you're live. That's it. Everything we need is 30 minutes from your team's time and you're live. That's it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, that's incredible. So obviously then they're immediately, and then within 30 days, seeing that big increase in booking rates and seeing the results. And, it just remind me of some of these technologies that have come out, right? It's like stuff that people never knew existed, but then when they have it, they can't imagine life without it. I imagine that's kind of the feedback you get from some of your customers. It's like, now that I have this, I can't imagine a world without it, right?
Yeah.
Because, it's just the visibility and the data. And, like you said, if 90% of the revenue is coming from this department, why don't we do everything to optimize every single call and every single opportunity is coming through there? So again, we want to keep our team busy, keep our salespeople, running the best qualified, best quality leads, give them the best opportunity to close. So all that stuff is absolutely priceless.
Yeah. So if you think about, if you just do a quick check today for the businesses and think about whether you need it or not, like you go to your head of call center and ask simple question: what are the top 3 problems that we have in the call center that will increase our revenue? And you have 2 choices. Either you get an answer, like we know, like we as a team, like head of call center is part of the team, we know, or we don't know. So if we know, if you're not basing your decision on 100% of data, how do you know that those are the top 3?
That's the inaccurate data. It's going back to that.
Yes. And the quantity of the data, like full 100. And then if you know, then let's go to action. So what Lace does is it answers those questions for you. And now pretty much the ROI discussion is, do you want to know what are the top things to increase your revenue, and you want to take action on them and generate more revenue, yes or no? And if you want, the other question, very reasonable, is how much time I need to spend as a team and how many processes I need to change to adopt this technology. Answer is 30 minutes in your life, and then the training is very simple because the software is very simple. So pretty much that's the question that you need to ask yourself, whether you need technology or not.
So one question I do have, because it's no secret that there's hundreds of AI companies seemingly coming out of the woodwork, and they're trying to hop on the AI tidal wave that's taking over the world right now. a lot of companies do get roped into choosing AI partners or technologies that aren't all they're cracked up to be, right? Because it's easy for somebody to come in and be like, yeah, we use the same AI platform that everybody else does, or it's just as good as that, right? So what are some ways contractors can be more careful about the AI partners they're choosing, whether it's what questions they're asking them or what case studies they have or references? Can you just provide like what you would deem if an AI company is coming to you and you own the company, what questions would you ask them to make sure that they're a real deal so you don't get roped into somebody that really has no clue what they're doing?
Yeah, and that's a very, very valid question. And it's actually very critical because when you choose a software, you don't choose only the software, you choose the team and the partner for you to be the first in your market. So from that perspective, a few things you need to consider is who is the best qualified software team in this entire space that can help you bring you not only the technology today, which is a high class, but also guarantee that you're going to get the best and most advanced technology in the future as well. So question number one is who is the most capable team? And I'm saying just a question that people need to ask themselves, like who is the best team that has the biggest chance to succeed? Question number two is who are the biggest and the best and the most advanced companies using this software? Because if they made a decision and they have resources to make this decision, then maybe that software is good. And what's their feedback? That's now question number two. And question number three is see it for yourself. Just try those softwares and see, not on the surface, on the checkbox level, like, oh, we have AI, we do this, we do that, we have scorecards, we have keywords. Go a little bit deeper. Just take a demo, look at the software and try to understand the differences between this software, the other software, and then make an informed decision. But these are the top three things: the best team, who else, and then check it out and see what's the difference between this and the other software to make a decision for yourself.
That's great. Obviously, you have a very robust history in AI and an impressive background. Can you just give our viewers a little more insight as to like the Lace.AI team and what makes your team so talented and powerful in this space? Because again, that's one thing that's important for us at Grosso University, because similar to the home improvement companies, we as a business have a reputation and we want to make sure we're aligning with the best of the best. And that's why you're here, because from the people I've talked to, from what I've heard, the research we've done, I mean, you guys are just absolutely dominating your space. But what about your team do you feel really sets you apart from other, I don't want to say there's competitors because I would say you're one of a kind, but people trying to compete with what you're doing?
Yes. So a number one goal for us in the company was to bring, and that's why the reason I left Facebook and wanted to build a dream team and bring the best technology to the home improvement space. Number one is we were looking for talent, get the best people. Who are the best people that you can get to work with you every day in the trenches to get this thing done? And so the approach we took is like, one example is at Facebook, I had this kind of a habit of like, every time when we open a new position, I'll go to my team and ask them to give me a list of the top 10 people on the planet, regardless what they do today. Who are the best people that can join our team today? So I'll go to my team at Facebook and ask them, everyone individually, and these are the smartest people on the planet, PhD research in the top universities, AI. I'll ask them, give me a list of top 10, every one of you, of what are the top 10 people that you want to join our team and work with us. And they'll give me a list and I'll merge this list and I'll see what's the global top list. And then we'll start from number one and try to hire. And we've had many times success with hiring number one, number two, number three on the planet. Attract them and join us. And then once you attract the top talent, then the rest of the top talent wants to join because everyone wants to work with the best. So knowing that from my experience, that's the way how we designed and set up the Lace culture. So there are two things. One is how can we get the absolutely best people on the planet to work with us in this journey, number one. And number two is how can you make sure that you set up the company for success, which is set up the DNA of the company to be two things: execution and rate of innovation. So that's the only thing every startup has today. Nothing else. Trying to slow down hours, trying to hide data, trying to hide methodologies, trying to hide technology. All of this is just a temporary thing. The only thing a startup has is speed and rate of innovation. So the moment you set up the DNA of the company to speed and rate of innovation and hire the best talent, magic happens.
Yeah. That's really reassuring. And obviously we're really excited because we know you're just getting started. You're just getting warmed up, and what you've achieved in such a short period of time is absolutely incredible. And everyone I've talked to that has even spent any time with you or your team or of course been a customer of yours. Can't say enough good things. And of course the industry knows you got some of the biggest heavy hitters and leaders singing your praises. So you must be delivering on those promises. So for those listeners that still may be skeptical of Lace.AI, I guess, what are some things you can tell them, if they did go ahead and take advantage of this over the next 12 months, what type of improvements in their ability to generate revenue can they anticipate with Lace.AI in like even the first year alone?
Yeah, I think that the ROI is going to be very quick and very obvious. The moment you install the technology and you're live and running, you immediately start seeing a massive optimizations in your business. Of course, you need to take action for those things. Like the software can tell you what you need to do. You still need to take the action. So you are part of the solution and this whole thing. But as I mentioned, some of our customers increased book rate by 23, 24% within 4 weeks, which is incredible, right? Imagine the real revenue and imagine 24% increase in your revenue with no additional budget.
Yeah.
So this is some of the magic that can happen with software. If you are putting the time and energy to make this thing work for your company, it's not going to be a magic. It's not going to be like just turning on and automatically going to happen. You need to be aligned, and we can help you.
Yes.
Based on every good other example we've seen in the industry, we can help you what it means and what are the most common characteristics and action you need to take outside of the software that can help you close the loop and have a really top performing results. And that's kind of where we can assure the customers is that, hey, if you're skeptical, get a demo, look what software can do for you, and talk to someone else, and we can help you talk to someone that comes. We can show some of the video testimonials, and then from there, it's for you to decide.
So of course you've achieved a lot, and you've kind of already given us a snippet as to kind of where you see AI going. But what are some of the new innovations you see on the horizon for Lace.AI, and where do you see your company going in the next 1 or 2 years?
Yes. So we have a 5-year vision plan already ready, and we're running on it, executing on it. So as I kind of alluded a little bit, is that what customers can be sure is that we're going to bring the best technologies first, and we're going to bring the best technologies in a way that's going to be actionable. Mm-hmm. It's not just a checkbox. It has to be actionable. Otherwise, you don't have the efficiency. So we're going to be bringing these technologies first. We're going to be helping you as a partner to be the first in your markets and trying to win consistently. And as I mentioned, some of the crazy stuff might happen sometimes as the AI advances, where we'll be able to analyze all the costs from the existing of your company and give you some really valuable insights and all these other things we can do for you to win. Mm-hmm. And for us, your win is our win. So we're completely aligned here on the revenue front.
Yeah, that's awesome. And again, this podcast is Profits for Sanity. So that's sweet music to everybody's ears that's watching this. And I just want to congratulate you for all your success. You're doing amazing things. And
thanks, Dom.
Like I said before, I just want to thank you for the partnership. I'm excited about things that you can do for our clients, because I can provide all the sales training I want, but if there's an inefficiency in the business that profound that's inhibiting their salespeople from getting opportunities, we need to solve that problem. And I think Lace.AI is definitely revolutionizing that space in a big way. So if people do want to schedule the masterful presentation from you and the Lace.AI team, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so send me an email, Boris@Lace.AI, BORIS@LACE.AI, or just go to our website, Lace.AI, and book a demo.
Yeah, that's awesome. You won't be disappointed. I've seen you and your team at events. You're even demoing it like on your phone, you're demoing it on your computers. And as soon as people get their eyes on it and they see what this thing can do, it really does sell itself. You're a good salesperson, but the product it's honestly a no-brainer if I've ever heard one in terms of technology to integrate. So thank you also for traveling all the way from Madison, Wisconsin. So we don't take this lightly. We know you're very busy. You actually just came back from an event, right?
Yes.
For 2 weeks.
We were nonstop events.
Yeah, you've been like living out of your suitcase this year. So, but it's good. I've been hearing amazing things. So thank you so much. And thank all of you for taking time out of your day. We know there's a million podcasts you could be watching, and we don't take your time lightly. So hopefully you have pages of notes in terms of how you can optimize your call center leveraging Lace.AI. So make sure you reach out to our friends at Lace.AI and book a demo. You will not be disappointed, and realize that 23% increase in booking rates in the first 30 days. And again, it'll be obvious and profound the moment you plug this into your business. So we appreciate you watching. And on behalf of our entire team at Grosso University, volume is for vanity and profit is for
sanity.
All right. Thank you. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.